All right, guys, welcome into the Auburn postgame show brought to you by Medical Properties Trust. I'm Simone Eli alongside Matt Scalisi, joining us live from the Plains, Jordan-Hare Stadium, where the Iron Bowl just went final a little bit ago in 4 overtimes. The first time the Iron Bowl has ever gone into overtime. It goes into 4 extra periods. The Auburn Tigers fall 24-22. The final, Alabama gets it done on the road in a game that will go down in history, Matt, not only as one of the best Iron Bowls ever, probably one of the best games in college football ever, obviously not to the happiness of many Auburn fans with how things turned out, but what a performance really by Auburn throughout this entire game, especially defensively.
I think Jason Richardson says it well here in the comments. Hats off to the Tigers, and really,
yeah,
you put this game in perspective. Auburn was a 20-point underdog coming into this game. Nobody really gave them much of a chance to win from the outside. I'm not sure Alabama fully took them seriously coming into this game, but this team took a playoff contender, one of the best offenses statistically in college football, and shut them down. They did not give Alabama much of an inch all night for 59 minutes until the very final drive of the game. And I think it was one of the best defensive performances I have seen from Auburn all year.
Yeah.
I think it was a heroic performance, I think it has to be said, by TJ Finley, who was hurt for a lot of this game, for some crucial moments of this game. He played hurt because he knew that there just wasn't anybody else on that roster that could give Auburn much of a chance to win the game. And I think, I don't think that there was anything particularly surprising about the offensive performance in this game. I'm sure that everybody watching would have liked to see more from this Auburn offense. But all things considered, you're up 10-0 for most of the game on one of the best teams in college football. And your defense did its job. Your offense did a lot. And I think what happened in the end of this game is something that we've seen happen a lot to this Auburn team over the last month, which is they just didn't have quite enough. They needed just a little bit more. And this is the least extra that they've needed to be able to win a game, but they just didn't have it. And look, this isn't a perfect team. We all know that. We all hope and expect that the Tigers are going to build a better roster in the coming years, and that they're going to be healthier, I think also. But I think while I understand the disappointment, I'm also seeing a lot of pride in these comments right now. I'm seeing a lot of Auburn fans saying, proud of Auburn. In my opinion, Auburn played better than Alabama.
I agree.
To me, Derek Mason gets to stay. Heck of a game plan. I'm seeing a lot of positivity in here, and I'm honestly, I'm sort of encouraged to see that from fans. I think it was, to be in the building here, it was a deflating moment at the end of the game. It was obviously very disappointing, but I think it's cool to see the Auburn fans in the comments here putting it in perspective and saying, I didn't think we'd do this. I didn't think we'd get to this point tonight. And again, hats off. It was really I would say one of Auburn's best performances of the year, even though it was a loss.
Oh, I would say definitely one of the best performances of the year. Because if you think about everything that goes into this, Matt, this is an Auburn team that entered the month of November with an opportunity to win the SEC West. And then over the span of 3 weeks and 3 losses, just everything just went into shambles. I mean, Auburn is bottom of the barrel in the SEC, and everyone expected Auburn to just completely hang it up. Now, I understand that there are no moral victories in college football. There's no column for that. When you look at the win-loss column, Auburn does finish 6-6 in the regular season, 3-5 in the conference. But there has to be some sort of pride in the fight that was shown, and I think that there is. Yes, it's 4 straight losses, like people are pointing out, to end the season. That's not good. That's not good. Tiger fans have way bigger expectations for their team and their program than that. But I think that folks do understand that they could have just completely not shown up at all. They were 20.5-point underdogs in this game, Matt, to rivals. Again, everyone counted them out. And I felt like it was Auburn's game. I mean, Auburn was in control of this game. I feel like Auburn, if there was a deserve to win, it was kind of like one of those feelings. Like, they had earned that win. I mean, I understand you got to play the entire time, but dang, man, I mean, Auburn put it all on the line.
I totally agree. I mean, again, I was on the sidelines for this whole game, and it felt like Auburn was winning this game until the very, very end. I mean, you go back to that moment where they stop Alabama on 4th down late in the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
It felt like that was the game. It felt like the game was over at that point, and I think there were actually people leaving, not leaving the stands because they wanted to be in here for that, but there were people leaving the field to go and start working on their post-game stuff here in the media area.
Yeah.
I think it just didn't seem like Alabama was going to be able to pull it off. They hadn't all night.
Yeah.
And, again, while I think these two teams clearly had a lot of emotions about each other, I would say this was a very chippy game. These are two teams that don't seem to like each other very much. That you and I know that it's not always the case. Even in rivalry games, sometimes the players don't feel the same way the fans do. I don't think that was the case tonight.
It was great. It was great to see too, Matt, because in this day and age, especially when it comes to guys who are nationally recruited to go to Bama and Auburn and are not from this state, don't understand this rivalry as much as someone who is from this state. They don't have as much passion attached to it. So to see the chippiness, to see those guys fired up, I mean, it did cost Bama their best receiver because he had to play, but you saw fight literally, and figuratively. And I mean, it was kind of nice to see that because quite frankly, nowadays, everyone's shaking hands and exchanging jerseys and kissing babies after games, win, loss, or the other. And I mean, at least we saw, dudes getting after it. Like, that was nice to see.
There was some passion for sure going on in this game. I think maybe I even sensed a little bit of that between the coaches in that post-game handshake. There definitely was heat happening at the end of the game when the Alabama players got up in the student section's faces after they scored the winning 2-point conversion. And those fans are not going to forget that for a while. But look, here, if you want to frame it this way, the fact that the Alabama players felt that level of passion at the end of this game, I mean, it speaks to what Auburn did to them. Auburn took them to the wire. They scared the daylights out of them. They put them through something tonight. And Alabama is not going to forget what happened in this game. I think they're going to in some ways, games like this kind of revive the rivalry a little bit. They bring it back to life after a game like last year where there was really no life in that Auburn team that played in that game a year ago. This was a different story tonight. This is the kind of game everybody's going to remember on both sides. And it's part of the history that makes this such a great rivalry is these two teams. Nobody expected this to be a game. They really didn't. I'm sure there's some loyal Auburn fans that felt otherwise, but for the most part, Auburn wasn't supposed to be competitive in this game, and they absolutely were. They took Alabama to the brink, and I think there will definitely be some fans who look back and second guess and think if we just done one thing differently, we would have won the game, and that's fair. I get that, but I think that it took an incredible effort by this Auburn team to even get to the point where Alabama was forced to win this game on a 98-yard drive they had to tie it to even get to overtime with a 98-yard drive. And then you take them to 4 overtimes. Nobody's pushed Alabama that hard this season.
Not at all.
And I think that it's a sign that after the last 3 losses in a row, this team didn't quit. They didn't give up. They didn't throw in the towel. They said, we're going to go out and play the best game we've played all season against the best team, maybe the best team we've played all season other than possibly Georgia.
Yeah, no question. Matt, quickly, let's look ahead for Auburn. The regular season's over. Tigers finished 6-6 after the loss to Alabama. Now it's presumably going to a bowl game. Some bowl, I haven't looked at the bowl projections, so I don't know where. We won't know for a couple of weeks what that looks like. But what is the mindset? What is the goal now outside of, National Signing Day is coming up less than a month away for the early signing period, which is kind of the new signing period. That's a big timeline for Brian Harsin being a first-year coach, so getting in big recruits. But when it comes to this team right now and closing out the season, what does that look like?
This was an important night for a number of reasons. Obviously, winning the game would have been great, but this place was electric all night, as Jordan-Hare can only be in the biggest games. And there were some big time recruits here tonight. So I think there's a good chance that they made a big impact on them.
No
I think that they definitely need to close the deal and finish with a great signing class. Auburn has a lot of work to do, frankly, on their recruiting class. And they need to make up some ground. They need to get a lot of things done. They feel like they're in a good position with a lot of big time players, but they've got to close the deal on those guys, and they've got a few weeks to do it here, where they don't have anything else to focus on. They don't have to worry about a conference championship game. They don't have to think about the bowl game for a while. They can focus on recruiting.
Sure.
And as far as the bowl game goes, I do think that momentum is important. I do think that ending the season on a high note is important, especially when you finish on 4 straight losses. There is reason to feel optimistic because of this game. I know nobody wants to hear that because it's a loss, and I saw somebody in there say losing by 2 and 4 overtimes the same thing as losing by 21 points. I don't agree. I don't agree at all.
I agree.
I agree with you, Matt. Yeah. I think that the actual reality of your performance also matters, and I think that there's reasons for this Auburn program to feel good about what happened tonight. Sure. They don't feel as good as they could have, but there's reasons to feel okay about what happened in this game and what it means for the future. And I think, going out in a bowl game, having a chance to put another good performance together and show that what happened tonight was not a fluke, was not some freak occurrence, that's more of who this team is than the South Carolina game and the Mississippi State game. That's really important for building for a program that still has not figured out what exactly its identity is under this coach. That's a very important opportunity.
I agree. No doubt about it. We will see where Auburn finishes the season in a bowl game. Tigers finished 6-6 on the year, 3-5 in the conference after the 4 overtime loss in the Iron Bowl tonight on the Plains. Another dramatic, classic. I mean, every word you can possibly say. This had all the bells and whistles, but does not end up in Auburn's favor. 24-22, the final. The Tide get it done in 4 overtimes. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in to the Auburn Postgame Show, brought to you by Medical Properties Trust. For Matt Scalisi, live from Auburn, I'm Simone Eli. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and we'll see you again soon.
Medical Properties Trust, at the very heart of healthcare.